Ooga booga, brethren, and happy Halloween to all. It's Infernoman again, but this time I have taken up the role of a night-dwelling, blood-sucking vampire. To get your spirits up during this different Halloween season, I thought, what would be a good idea for a Halloween special considering this is my very first one? And then it hit me, like a wooden stake to the heart. If you're familiar with my scripted videos, then you may recall my videos where I took characters from some of my favorite shows and gave them Pokemon teams. Well, my fall-loving friends, I've decided to return to that series by taking the main antagonists of 4 of my favorite horror franchises and give them their own frightening Halloween teams. Yes, you heard it correctly. Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th, Michael Myers from Halloween, Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Chucky from Child's Play will all be receiving 6 Pokemon, all with a set of rules to go over. The first rule is to make sure every slasher has a team of 6. I want to represent every character to the fullest, so giving them 2 or 3 Pokemon is not enough. Secondly, their teams must consist of no more than 1 legendary per team, not counting mythicals. Usually I include the rule of not matching the appearance too many times, but since Halloween is all about costumes, I'll let that slide for this one. I'll also be giving all 4 of these killers a Honedge because it's literally the only Pokemon in existence that's close enough to a knife. Now with that all out of the way, get ready for my scary teams for slasher film antagonists. Starting off with my personal favorite, Friday the 13th is set in the Pokemon universe this time around, and Jason's got 6 weapons to use on the camp counselors. To start off Jason's team, already holding the knowledge that he is using a Honedge instead of his famous machete, I had to implement the number 13 somewhere in his party. And so he receives the 13th Pokemon in the Pokédex, Weedle. I know that it might seem pretty silly to give a murderous psychopath a poisonous worm, but when you look at it, the pin on its head and the fact that it shoots poison from it, it's more useful to Jason than you might think. If you've seen the Friday the 13th films, you might have noticed Jason has strength far beyond any regular human being. He's turned heads 180 degrees, ripped through walls, and has even torn limbs off of still living human beings. One Pokemon that comes to mind in this situation is Beware. Beware is infamous for its super strength. It loves giving hugs to other beings, but unfortunately for this bear, its strength is so unmatched it strangles its victim to death when it does so. I believe Jason would be the only person Beware could hug and not kill, so that's why Jason catches it to use as his own weapon. Everyone who knows Jason Voorhees is aware he's famous for the hockey mask he puts on in part 3, and there was not a chance I wouldn't include it on his team. I gave him Univent Yamask, and I only mention its form because another killer will receive the Galarian form. Jason received this one, however, because of the fact that this Yamask carries a mask that covers the face rather than the entire head. Jason resides in a campground called Camp Crystal Lake. I thought nothing would fit more than giving him Trevenant. Most lakes and campgrounds in general are famous for the many trees that are part of the nature surrounding them. Jason would definitely want to have one possessed by an evil spirit, so he catches one for himself. Last but not least, I wanted to represent Camp Crystal Lake as a whole on Jason's team, and it would be almost a crime to not give Jason the crystal mascot Suicune. Suicune is seen running around lakes in the Pokemon universe, usually running on the water. I believe Jason would secretly be saved from the bottom of the lake by Suicune, which is when he catches it for his team. Next up on the slasher squad is the boogeyman himself, Michael Myers. Already slicing away with his Honedge, the first additional Pokemon on his team is inevitably Pumpkaboo. I was planning on Gourgeist at first, but this would either imply he caught it as a Gourgeist, or he was traded a Pumpkaboo, which would definitely not happen. Instead, I went with the base form because it's a simple pumpkin-based Pokemon that represents the Halloween season the best. He also has a Pawniard, a Pokemon with tons of blades covering its body. Michael is seen using many blades other than just an ordinary kitchen knife, so he'd probably end up with a walking blade on his team. Michael is also the other Yamask user, holding the Galarian form. I chose to give him the regional variant because the stone Yamask holds is an ancient artifact that is supposedly a piece of a cave painting. Since Halloween was released 2 years before Friday the 13th, I used this opportunity to say that this franchise is older than the other one. Alolan Marowak also shows up on his team because it has a mask covering its entire head. He uses the club it holds as a weapon to use against his victims, and the ghost typing fits with the horror theme. Mimikyu is another masked Pokemon that is only seen for what it is inside of its costume rather than the outside. Michael practically grew up being known as the boy who killed his sister, so he takes up a mask to hide his identity to not seem as intimidating to other people. This gimmick works out for him until he becomes famous for wearing his mask, similar to how Mimikyu is famous for its disguise now. Next up is Freddy Krueger, and although I have only seen a couple of his movies, I know enough about him to give him a full team. Freddy basically would want a Honedge for each hand, but since that would take up 2 spots on his team, his Honedge evolves into a Doublade. Since Freddy was burned to death by neighborhood people, sending him to reside in people's dreams, I give him a Houndoom, a Pokemon that represents devil dogs. To represent his metal claws, he receives a Weavile, a Pokemon known for slicing up its prey using its claws, and an Excadrill, a Pokemon with longer claws that are made of metal, akin to Freddy himself. Because of the fact that he's famous for entering the nightmares of people and killing them within their dreams, I gave him the most fitting Pokemon, which would obviously be Darkrai. Darkrai would most likely be so excited to join Freddy's team that it would grab a striped sweater for itself and hop into a Pokeball. Lastly, I wanted to represent the fact that Freddy strikes at night by giving him the embodiment of nighttime, Lunala. Freddy would definitely use Moongeist Beam to finish off a victim in a very graphic yet epic scene in a movie, and that's why he would use it on his team. The final killer to receive a team is Chucky from Child's Play. Along with his Honedge, Chucky's team represents how he became who he is. Charles Lee Ray was a famous murderer known for strangling his victims to death. One day, while running from the police, he gets shot in a toy store. As he's laying there on the floor awaiting his inevitable death, he possesses a nearby doll with voodoo magic. I gave him a Banette to represent this. Banette is a doll possessed by a spirit, so nothing would be more fitting than having one in his party. He also has a Beware to do the strangling for him, considering his doll strength wouldn't be enough to do it himself. He also has a Drifloon, a Pokemon that puts on a facade of pretending to be friendly to children, only to kidnap them and take them away. Chucky's main goal in the franchise is to take his owner Andy's body for himself to become human again. But spoilers, fails over and over every time. Umbreon also matches this, as in one of its descriptions it states that it lurks in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce on its prey. Chucky pretends to be a regular doll until Andy's alone, and then he knocks him out for a chance at possession. His final Pokemon would be a Raikou to represent the thunder that crashes from the sky when Chucky says the voodoo words to possess whatever body he's currently holding. Raikou is also a Pokemon that was given new life after supposedly being dead, so its story would be very similar to Chucky's. Well guys, there you have it. Those were the Pokemon teams I gave to slasher movie antagonists. I know this was shorter than previous entries of this series, but I just wanted to do a quick Halloween special, and 4 teams seemed like a pretty good number to do. If you agree or disagree with any of my choices, let me know down in the comments below. That's going to do it for this video, so make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell, and have a happy Halloween. This is Infernoman retreating to the shadows, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Goodbye.